meeting, this September 12th, 2022 meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. Let's see, we have everyone here. I heard from Gina, she won't be here, but we don't need anyone to sit in. We have no public comment tonight. So the first item of business is under new business, and I'll go ahead and read this. This is HHCI Properties LLC applicant owner review for recommendations to the planning board regarding a waiver of full site plan to expand an existing parking area by 43 spaces and other associated improvements. The parcel is located at 10A1 Paul Lane in the I-1 Industrial Aquifer Conservation District, tax map 2D lot 004-05. And sir, if you would, before you get started, just say your name for just into the. Yeah, do you have a bright green light?
Good. Perfect. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name's Ethan Beals. I'm a project manager at Hayner Swanson, doing business at 3 Congress Street in Nashua, New Hampshire. I'm here tonight representing HHCI, or Harmony Healthcare Institute, who is the property owner of the subject property, seeking comments from the commission related to a proposed parking expansion. Go ahead with a quick presentation, present the facts, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. The subject property is known to the Merrimack Assessor's Office as Map 2D, Lot 4-5, and is located at 10 All Paul Lane here in Merrimack. The property is abutted by vacant land owned by Pennachuck Waterworks to the west, All Paul Lane, and land owned by BAE Systems to the north. A property that's currently developed as a parking lot to the south, and other commercial office uses to the east. Property measures approximately 6.2 acres and is located within Merrimack's I-1 Industrial and Aquifer Protection District, which is why we're here tonight. The property was originally developed in the late 1990s as a commercial and office building. The property contains a 2-story, approximately 43,000 square foot building that is surrounded by parking areas on all sides of the building. Access to the site is provided via a driveway curb cut out to All Paul Lane, as well as an access easement across Lot 4-6, which provides access out to Manchester Street. My client purchased the property in December 2021. He operates an LPN, or licensed practical nurse, education business, and rents out approximately half of the building for regular office space tenants. But prior to December 2021, there was an agreement for my property, for the subject property, their tenants to utilize the vacant parking lot on the adjacent property to the south. That agreement will be expiring later this month, which is creating the need for additional parking. My client wishes to add, as previously mentioned, 43 spaces to continue to offer his tenants flexible parking options in the site. It's proposed to construct a total of 43 parking spaces. 12 will be constructed along the existing driveway out to All Paul Lane right here. 9 parallel parking spaces will be constructed behind the building right here. 8 spaces will be constructed along the driveway connection to the access easement to Lot 4-6 right here. And finally, 14 spaces will be constructed along the shared driveway along the southern property line. So 14 spaces right along that shared property line. Once fully constructed, the site will contain 209 parking spaces. Other site improvements as part of this project include curbing, an additional accessible parking space, and minor drainage improvements. As part of the planning board process, we have agreed to include a note on the plans prohibiting the use of salt or chemical de-icers, which was required by planning staff. In regards to stormwater, the existing site primarily drains to an existing stormwater management northwest of the site, right here. It is our intent to continue to utilize the existing stormwater basin to handle the runoff generated by the increase in impervious area generated on the site. In total, the 43 spaces will add approximately 8,085 square feet of impervious area to the site. Based on the minor nature of this specific project in comparison with the total overall site area and impervious area draining to this basin, and a re-examination of the original study for this basin, it's our professional opinion that the basin is adequately sized to handle the proposed increase in runoff generated by the parking expansion. In summary, we feel that the proposed parking expansion project is a responsible development that will help the building tenants continue to operate their successful businesses here in Merrimack. And at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
When do you go before the planning board?
So we have already completed that process. That was last Tuesday. I can get the exact.
No, that's fine.
Sorry. as part of that conditional approval, one of the conditions was to appear before the commission and request feedback.
Do you have the calcs for the water, stormwater runoff?
So
The survey, the summary?
yes, I believe I have the, I had submitted a drainage letter to staff. I'm happy to summarize it if you'd like me to. I don't know how deep in the weeds you would
No,
like me
we
to.
just,
That
the
summary.
summary report would be great, just so we know what the previous runoff calcs were
Yep.
and what they are gonna be now.
Yep, so essentially that basin right here was originally designed, the original property was this one, the first developed. So that basin right here was originally designed as part of this project and had anticipated or projected out in the future approximately 60% lot coverage for both of these. Both of these properties drain to that basin. So basically what happened is our office has developed all three of these properties. So what we did is we went back, re-examined the original assumptions, specifically really involved that 60% lot coverage. The reality today is the lot coverage on both those lots is 53% exactly, more or less, 53% give or take. And so really that leads to a CN value of 61, which is significantly less than the original assumed CN value of the future development of 74. So that's kind of the brief summary. I'm happy to provide the letter to the Conservation Commission.
Is that something you've already provided to?
Staff this has been provided to
Okay.
staff. I apologize for not submitting it to the commission's attention.
We, just for your own information, when we review these, it would be great if we could just get the summary calcs.
Understood.
That's just that one page would be all we
Understood.
need,
Apologize for
No, that's- no,
not
just-
submitting that ahead of time.
just FYI.
Can you show us a little bit of, the snow removal and snow storage plan, where that takes place?
Yeah, so that was actually one of the conditions that was identified by staff as a current issue on the site. My understanding from one of the DPW comments is the current site contractor does plow some of the snow out across All Paul Lane onto the adjacent property. And so that has been something that will need to be addressed, that staff had illustrated, that I'm happy to work with my client to basically amend their ongoing snow operations to prohibit and prevent that condition from happening in the past. DPW staff had also picked up on that a few of the proposed parking spaces are in areas that were previously shown to be snow storage. And so that is also one of the conditions of the approval that I'm going to be working with staff to identify new snow storage spaces on site and add a note to the plan that once those spaces are essentially filled up and you can't add more snow, that snow has to be trucked off site in a legal manner.
So that hasn't been determined yet?
Correct. Those were both conditions that staff had identified that we're going to be looking to work through before final plans. A, to identify snow storage spaces on site, and then B, working with my client to amend their snow maintenance operations, including adding the aforementioned notes to the plan.
So we don't see any forestry plans, no vegetation, no nothing, no plantings, nothing?
No, correct. So all four of the areas that we've identified to propose parking are all simply grassed areas, relatively flat grassed areas on site. So we're not we're not proposing to remove any vegetation other than grassed areas. No trees will be cut. But as you picked up on, we also had asked for kind of a waiver of providing a full landscaping plan due to the minor nature of the project.
So you're just gonna be regrassing whatever's disturbed?
Exactly. The plan right now is to build the spaces and then anything that's disturbed, loam and seed
Okay.
to match the rest of the site.
The low nitrogen, low phosphate fertilizers in the aquifer protection zones.
We would be happy to add that note to the
Yeah.
plan as well. That's not a problem
Yeah,
for us.
slow release nitrogen and low phosphates. Or better yet, even no phosphates are even better, but we would recommend you get the soils tested to
Okay.
find out what you really need, because you could potentially not be having to fertilize at all.
Is there a standard note that is in the regs somewhere?
I'm
or is
surprised
will
that
it be
if they gave you the Snow Pro, I'm kind of surprised they didn't give you this
that,
one, but,
unless I missed it, I'm happy to
Yeah.
scan through my approval again.
no, that's all right. There's, the 10, we say that middle number is the one that's gotta be,
I'm happy to follow
Yeah.
up with staff on that, and adding that note to the plan should not be an issue.
And how many impervious square feet did you say were added? Was it 8,000?
8,085, I believe. 8,085 square feet of impervious area.
That's how many are being added, but the before calculation didn't include the parking lot that didn't actually, that belonged to somebody else, owned by somebody else,
So
right?
this parking lot right here actually drains drains in a separate direction. There is a small corner of my subject property that also picks up and drains out that way. I can give you, I didn't intentionally leave it out. It's a very small site area that was also just basically picked up on the total amount of area draining the opposite direction in my drainage letter. But that drains to a separate practice, so that really wasn't applicable, more or less.
Anyone else?
pretty straightforward.
Okay, we'll go ahead and, we'll send an email to the planning board. We'll highlight those areas that we just talked about, that we wanna make sure that, particularly that snow storage plan is identified. And anything in excess of what those identified areas can hold
Yep.
is trucked away.
Yep.
We'll mention the green snow plow and the snow pro and the low nitrogen, slow release, low phosphate. I think that's it. Anyone else, anything I skipped?
I promise the next time I be here, I will have a drainage letter to you guys ahead of time.
Yeah, that's all we,
Understood.
community development probably has it. I should have caught it on Friday that it wasn't, usually I get a copy of it and I just print one copy so we're not, mass producing those things because they can be lengthy, but.
Understood.
So
Yeah.
we'll blame him.
Yeah.
No, I'll take all the
Not
blame
the
on that.
first time.
So it should have been something I picked up on ahead of time. Appreciate you all.
Mhm.
Let's come in.
Oh, it is in there?
Yeah,
Which page was that?
I did see that.
Huh.
It is page 2, 3, page 6. Page 3.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Sorry, let me cross that off my list then. Okay, moving right along, under other business, so community development continues to help us, offer some ideas to help keep us in compliance with all the, the stipulations about these agendas. So one thing they've recommended, and we'll move to it starting next meeting, is remove both of these sub-bullets under item number 4. And instead what we'll do is we'll do subcommittee updates. We'll just rotate. We probably don't need to hear, the subcommittees don't meet regularly enough about them that we need to hear about them every month. And what it does is we've had this challenge previously where we're introducing items that should be on an agenda under this heading, under this number 6 other business heading. So if it's a new, so for instance, for the next meeting, we'll put one of the subcommittees on here, hear an update on that subcommittee. If another subcommittee has an update that's relevant, we'll just add that item under new business and not try to not run the risk of having actionable agenda items introduced under these two subheadings. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But with that, are there any subcommittee updates that the subcommittees have an update that they want
Yeah.
to share?
So, that nature walk with the Merrimack River Watershed Council is next weekend, Saturday. I believe it starts at 11 o'clock. They say it's gonna last an hour.
Mike, turn your mic up.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So, the nature walk that the Merrimack River Watershed Council is hosting will be on Saturday, I believe at 11 o'clock. It's gonna last an hour, according to them. The subcommittee will probably be there, most of them. Members of the Litchfield Conservation Commission were invited. And there's about 32 registered spots total besides the subcommittee that are allowed. I guess they have their own insurance or whatever.
What is the meeting place or the location?
Sklar,
Oh.
the boat launch, I believe. We switched to meeting twice a month at the request of its members. So we do meet quite often. That's all.
Excellent. Thank you. Mhm.
So Wildcat Falls will have, just a reminder, they'll have a workday, trails cleanup and bridge building Saturday, October 15th at 10 a.m.
Fantastic.
You saw that email regarding that couple that wants to help?
Oh, yeah, it wasn't, I did not read.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing we should.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Horsetail Subcommittee met the other day. We would like to see formal recognition eventually of a trail that's being established right now. It's whether we like it or not, it's there. It's a link to the Long Pond overlook. So at some point, I'd like to know more about how we go about with that. What we'd like in the long run, because we know there's not going to be a new map anytime soon, but in the long run, we would like this trail identified, included in a map, and have some signage for it or a post for it. This is an area, it links from the Loop Trail, goes alongside Long Pond, and we're finding a lot of people are using that as a photography area, particularly in the fall. And it's in good shape, but it is not a formal trail at this point.
Stays relatively dry,
Yes.
and it stays away from the water edge fairly well.
At this point, yeah. Of course, if we ever get heavy rain
Yeah.
again, we might be reminded of
Yeah.
what comes about. Also, we're going to be having a work day that I will let you all know about when it's scheduled. We know a bridge on the Blodgett Hill Trail that's going to be getting some work. We want it done before the freeze-thaw cycles begin, but right now, it hasn't been scheduled yet.
Excellent.
Do we need to officially vote on this trail?
Well, if we're gonna do that, we can't be tonight.
I don't
Yeah.
mean right now, but I
Mhm.
mean,
At some point, I do
Some
not know what the
point.
procedure's going to
Yeah.
be, but the consensus of the subcommittee is we'd like to move forward with this when it's possible. Also, volunteers are welcome, but we have that on the website, so the subcommittee will be happy to hear from people who'd like to participate.
great.
Ellen, since we're talking to NRPC, maybe we should put that on the agenda for next meeting,
Okay?
and then we can
And I'll
drop
get
a
something more formal than
sketch.
this.
Yeah, put it in the packet.
Sketch of that.
Put it in the packet, we'll put it on the agenda, and we'll act on it. Anything else?
Is Eversource still there?
According to Mark Gagnon, and I welcome anybody else who has more information, according to the head of the subcommittee, they're done for now. They finished
Yay.
both ends.
Okay.
They did not replace those towers in the middle that we were concerned about that span the wetlands.
Okay.
So we're very happy that they've cleaned up and left.
Yes.
We don't know when the other shoe's gonna drop. So if this is part of a long-term project, we have not yet been advised of the date. But right now, things are restored to normal.
Great, thanks.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just a couple things. last meeting, at the very end, we talked about community development is gonna research field farm property, including the deed. Is that in relationship to the parking?
Yeah, the parking and, what was a couple fold? It was the parking, it was the deed and the way the transfers happened.
This,
Um,
not the Fields Farm deed, but the deed for the property that was being, supposed to be
Yeah, it's
transferred.
the back lots.
Right, that was part of the
Mhm.
development. of
And
that-
it would become part of Fields Farm.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
eventually, that was the
Yeah,
determination.
it's not the Fields Farm deed.
Yeah.
Specifically, it was the property transfer, right?
Right.
And the way that
Yeah.
transfer was done.
It's additional land that was supposed to go to Fields Farm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they're gonna put that into the deed.
Well,
Or recommend the best way, probably an easement was the
there was a
simplest
problem
way.
with, that property was supposed to be donated to us when the project was over. Something happened in the turnover, I don't know what, and I'm not, there was some legal issue that happened, it never got turned over, so we're trying to figure out how do we get access to that property? Because that was going to be the trails from Horse Hill into the Fields Farm instead of how we're going now, where people are going now are across private property,
Okay.
so.
I've got a note, though, it's probably appropriate, it's been a month, I think, since I asked, so let me check in on that.
Okay.
And if there is an update, I'll throw it on next meeting's agenda. When is the next meeting? Does anyone know?
It's 2 weeks.
Is it 2 weeks? We had
Thought it
one
was
in
October.
September and 2 in October.
Oh, there's only one in September.
I think there's only one in September.
Yeah, the
Okay.
one in September, next one is, the October 10th.
I'll be gone.
It's Columbus Day.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, the second thing I have is, based on Cynthia, we were all meeting down at the park. Cynthia made a comment about how she felt that Mr. Sklar wouldn't want the things that we were doing down there. So I thought to myself, like, I wanna give that guy a call. So I called Daniel Sklar up, and I talked to him, and
See, this is an item this is an actionable item, though. This is something that we should put on the agenda for next meeting, not a discussion we should have here. Because it's not on the agenda. Did anyone, and I can explain this better, maybe you can explain it better.
Throw me under the bus,
Because I haven't explained it well. If it's an item that should be voted on, certainly anything
I'm
that
just
should be
bringing up
voted on,
comments.
we should
This is a
have it on an
comment.
agenda.
So I wanted to bring out a comment.
Okay.
And so I spoke to Mr. Sklar. I spoke to him about 20 minutes. We're gonna get together when he comes back from vacation. But I asked him, I said, why did you put so many restrictions in the deed? And he sort of had a little chuckle and he said, I didn't put any restrictions in the deed. That was all the Conservation Committee. So, I've got an issue now. We've got a person that says that it was the customer who put all the
So,
restrictions in.
again, I think I know where you're going.
I'm not going anywhere, I'm just putting information out there. That maybe we can relook at the parking area of Sklar Park, now we know there's no deed restrictions.
No.
If they're in the deed, they're in the
If they're
deed.
in the deed,
But they were put in there by us.
They are
That's
in there.
correct.
it doesn't matter.
They're there.
That's a conservation deed. It's
And we've-
what, it's what we do.
Again, just back to the, if we wanna put this on the next agenda, we can do this, but this is an item this is an actual item, cause we've spent entire quarters, not meetings. We've spent,
Yeah.
and it feels like an eternity
Well, we-
talking about this topic, so if you want it on the agenda for the next
Please.
meeting, I will put it on the agenda for the
Please.
next meeting.
But
But, and here's the reason, because if we're gonna have that conversation about that deed, the deed should have been in our packets.
I have, yeah,
And
everybody's
you
read
asked
the
me
deed.
about it, and I told you, it was, we were past the cutoff time.
And I said I'd bring it up in the comments.
But that's why we're doing away with the commissioner comments, because we bring up too many things during the commissioner comments, not you,
Okay,
just in general.
Right,
We
to me,
did
it
the
just
last
looks like
meeting.
it's suppression,
And I'm
that's all.
happy to talk about
Let's-
this, but I think there should be a time limit when it happens, because we've already received legal,
Right.
notification
Let's,
that.
let's
deed
move
is
on
the
to the
deed.
minutes,
And-
please. Move on to the minutes. Who would like to make a motion about the minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes of the August 22nd, 2002 Conservation Commission meeting with the following amendments.
Second.
Motion by Ellen, second by Cindy.
On page 2, line 79, All Trails is, I need to capitalize that. That is a brand name, a proprietary name for an app. And I had a question on line 61, the word flagstone. There are currently 2 unmapped flagstone parcels, Sklar and Field Farms. Is flagstone the appropriate word there, or was something else supposed to go in? I wasn't sure what that meant. Page 2, line 61.
Unmapped flagstone
There are currently 2 unmapped flagstone parcels. I wonder if that means, if that was supposed to mean, main properties or principal properties or flagship properties. But flagstone stuck out to me. I wasn't sure what that meant, and what did I miss?
It looks like a combination of flagship and keystone. Because Sklar and Field Farms would be, they're the main group. I don't know.
I
how else to
recommend
put it,
perhaps,
but-
I almost had it there for a moment. Flagship. I think,
Yeah.
I suspect that's what was meant.
Oh,
But if he actually said that.
who actually said it? I said it?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
we don't know
I
that.
didn't write it down, and Stephanie must have heard it.
Oh,
so-
it was flagship.
Okay,
Oh, okay,
Mm.
yeah.
and that's what I've got, that's all I've got.
I don't have any,
You have nothing?
no. I didn't even catch those 2.
Wow. Anyone else?
No.
All right, motion to approve the minutes as amended, all in favor? 7 to 0 to 0. I know I promised this last week, but I will have this, so if it says non-public, it says none after it.
Can we take it off? It's not on the other
I
ones.
think we can take it off entirely
The
We,
zoning
we
board.
only ever put it on that when we were having.
when we're having it.
And
yeah.
that's what the zoning board does. And
Yeah.
we're modeling their
Yep.
thing, so.
No appointments to talk about? Anyone want to make a final motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by Cindy, second by Gage, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful night. 6:56.
Wow.